Live on both. Live on both. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to your Lake Fork Guy. We are live tonight, coming to you on YouTube, on my left, Facebook on my right, opposite for y'all, your left to the right, whatever. You know what I'm saying. Hey, man, Big Bass Splash Lake Fork Tournament Bass Fishing Recap. We're going to go over what happened at the Big Bass Splash. Man, some fantastic results. Holy crap. For September, is the lake fishing good? Like, it's set up to be an amazing fall period ahead of us. Really good results, really awesome results at the Big Bass Splash this weekend. We'll talk to you about all the details, what went on there, and give you a forecast going forward. We're going to have multiple guides in here tonight as usual. I know for sure we got David Ozio waiting down in the green room right now. He's down there in the green room hanging out. We're going to bring him on screen here in just a minute. And I know I think Michael McFarland is coming on as well to join us again as well. So we'll see how all that shakes out. I know for sure we're going to talk Lake Fork bass fishing with at least myself and the one and only PBA Hall of Famer, David Ozio.
Wrong sport. Wrong sport. Those are in days gone by.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know you always like shrug it off like it's no big deal. But for those that don't know what PBA is, Professional Bowling Association, you make a Hall of Fame in a sport where you get paid to do it, man. That's a big deal, bro.
Out there for 30 years. 8.
So I will never stop giving you kudos for that because that's such an amazing
the game. You know what? At fishing, I eat, sleep, live the game. It's the same thing. I got the same work ethic doing this as I did bowling.
I tell people that all the time when when anybody asks me about you or the subject of David Ozio comes up, I'm like, listen, I go, he was a bowling Hall of Famer, and it's very easy to see why. Because you are, and how old are you now?
I am 71.
At 71, you're the hardest working Lake Fork guy I know.
I feel like I'm 40. That's not a good combination. Listen, I got a story to tell you about that.
That's funny because I'm 40. I'm 42, and I feel like I'm 70.
There was a guy at Falcon. I pulled up at the boat ramp one day, and there was a guy sitting in the boat. I pulled up next to him. I said something to him, and he didn't say anything. So I just shrugged it off. I jumped out of the front of the boat. Well, here he comes. He's in waders. He jumps out of the front of the boat, and we start talking. And again, look about my age. And we got to talking. Turns out the guy was 84.
Woo!
Said,
come on.
Praise the Lord, I've got a chance. This guy was as spry as the day is long.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, wow.
Good stuff. Hey, over here on Facebook, let me know if you're picking up David's audio okay. I want to make sure we got that good before we get too deep into the meat of the content. It's coming. It's coming, folks. We're going to get there. Man, Lake Fork is – golly, dude, like how good was that this weekend, the results that came in from that tournament? When you really contemplate, like sit down and actually dig into it and think about it, do a little deep dig on what's going on out there on that lake. You've got over 1,000 boats, right? I don't know what the numbers are. Usually this tournament's over 2,000 participants. Usually it's up around 2,500, 2,200. It used to be over 3,000 at times.
It used to be over 3,000, exactly. It's usually around 2,500.
So you've got about 1,000 boats out. Over 1,000. It's safe to say you've got over 1,000 boats out there.
Correct.
It's very safe to say you got over 1,000 boats out there. Because at minimum, you're only going to have about 2 per boat usually. So that's 1,200 boats if you have 2 in every boat, and that's not always the case. So it's at least over 1,000 boats. 1,000 boats on a 27,000-acre lake is extremely crowded. Lake Fork does fish big, and it fishes very versatile this time of year where you can do some different things, different depths, different ways. So you can spread the crowd out, which is good. But no matter what, 1,000 boats, over 1,000 boats, is going to crowd a fishery unbelievably, especially 27,000 acres. That is not a big lake. For reference, guys, if you don't know, Rayburn's over 100,000. Toledo's like 180,000. Falcon is 80,000. Guntersville is, I don't know what Guntersville is, but it's up there in that 100,000, something like that range. I mean, Okeechobee's bigger than all of them. Like these destination lakes, Lake Fork is by far the smallest one. So the lake gets unbelievably crowded during this tournament. And to produce, for those fish that still bite good enough to produce what got produced this weekend, we'll just go ahead and go over some of the numbers. Dave, there was 31 overs caught. If you're listening and you don't know what an over is, okay, an over is a fish over 24 inches. On Lake Fork, we have a slot limit between 16 and 24 inches. You cannot keep anything in that slot. So you have to, when you're bringing a fish to weigh in a big bass tournament, you have to bring in one that's like hopefully 15 and 15/16, 15 and 3/4, 15 and 7/8, like what you're looking for, or you have to catch one over 24 inches. Now, the other thing I want all of our viewers tonight to think about and consider this If a fish is over 24 inches, that fish has a frame to carry over 10 pounds. Me, David, every other guide on Lake Fork has caught fish that weigh more than 10 pounds that are less than 24 inches long. So
I caught an 11-pounder one time that was 22 inches.
Exactly. So a fish that's over 24 inches, it may not weigh 10 pounds. It is a big enough, mature enough fish to carry 10 pounds. There's no doubt about that. Now, there is some overs that are very light this time of year. They're 7-pounders, 6-pounders, a lot of 8s and 9s in the over category. There's always 8s and 9s in the over category. But my point is, this is the time of year where the fish weigh the least. So if you look and say, man, well, there was only one 10-pounder caught. Well, brother, every one of those 9-pounders, every one of them is well over 10 pounds come January, February, March, April, May. They're all over 10 pounds. So if you look at what happened, all those 9-pounders and some of those 8-pounders that got weighed in would be over 10 pounds. You think about how many fish that would have been over 10 pounds they got weighed in. So 31 overs, 31 fish that had the frame to be a double digit, got brought in by regular, everyday weekend anglers in one weekend on one overcrowded 27,000-acre lake that is known as the greatest trophy bass lake of all time. Yes, Ivy has kicked out more of the giant 13, 14 plus, 15, all up to 17 pounds. Ivy's kicked those out the last few years with the coming around of live scope and the open water aspect of that in the wintertime. It's more of a wintertime special out there to catch those giants. It's only kind of January through March. But when you look at the everyday guy's chance to go out and catch, let's say a 7+ pounder, there has never been anything close to the likelihood you have of doing that on Lake Fork.
Well,
would you agree, Dave?
Well, yes, 100%. One other little statistic here that I don't think very few people have paid attention to. Quite a few years back, say I'm going to give it 7 to 10 years back, we were in the area of 45 overs, and then that per his tournament, and then it dwindled down. The last 3 years, it was only around 17 to 20. This year was 31. So that is the most positive thing that I've seen happen to this lake in quite a while.
And I don't want to just go on rant after rant here about Lake Fork and how awesome it is, but I do want to explain to the viewers kind of what's happened there. And I know, Dave, I think me and you, I know me and Mike have talked about it. I think me and you have talked about it. I'm pretty sure me and Cody have talked about it. We had a drought that started in 2010, got to its lowest point in 2011, and that drought carried through. Lake didn't get back full until 2015. In those years from 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, all those years, we had during the spawn, the fry survival rate was very bad.
Very
we had a
marginal.
lot, all the spawns, all the fry. There was nothing on the bank. The fish were just spawning on sandbanks next to a stump. Well, those fry got decimated. Not very many of those fry survived. Like they got killed by turtles and bluegill and sand bass, and we would see the sand bass running through the fry whenever it was fry garden time of year. So that being said, if you look at what's happened with some of the mature, yes, there was less 10+ pound fish in Lake Fork over the last couple of years. Why is that? Well, I think it has directly to do with that drought and that spawn survival rate, because now that we're in 2025, we're 10 years from 2015, the first spawn where the lake was full, the 10-pounders are showing up again.
Yeah.
Right? And here's the really cool thing about that, Dave. 2015 was a fantastic spawn with great flooded cover. So was 2016, 17, 18, like all those years until about, I think there was one year like 22 or 23 where we were low. We had full lake, full flooded cover, great survival rate for our fry. Man, we should be set up right now for a little bit of a boom in Lake Fork fishing over the next 5 years.
Yeah, because I mean, the bank vegetation alone just in the last 2 years has been phenomenal during the spring. Best I've ever seen. And then there's a lot of places like for this in particular tournament, I did things a lot different than probably what you did, what Cody did. I know Cody had a guy on a spot where he had an 8.5 over, I think, pre-fishing, but I targeted nothing but the dirt. And we were going after the fish that were under 16 inches, trying to stack up on those 2.5 pound fish. And we had quite a few locations where that was happening. And one in particular spot, I had a couple of my clients in, and one of those days while we were pre-fishing, I think it was on the Wednesday, we had 6 money fish. I made them leave. I made
Yeah.
them leave. I said, we're out of here. I mean, it was ridiculous. We had between a 10 and 11 pound bag for our best 5 unders. And I said, listen, there's no need to mess with this anymore. We left.
Yep.
All right.
Get out of there.
Those guys that were in that I put in that area, I did not see their name in the standings. I was shocked. I was beyond understanding. I'm thinking, what the heck could have possibly happened? Because it's a large area. And I mean,
well, that's part of the lake being crowded thing. You know, if they got beat to that area,
probably so. But I didn't know. I tried to call him. He never did answer. But I had another guy that went in there, and he said that one of the guys was coming out, and he talked to him because he thought these were the guys from, I think they were Alabama, and he said no, but they had a 243. And they finished second 1 hour with that out of this location. And then he ended up catching a 215. He made, I think he finished 12th 1 arrow with that. But it astounded me that in these 2 locations that they were in, there were a lot of fish. And I mean, I just didn't see the names. The lake did come down 2 inches over that period of time, which I just can't imagine that would have made any difference.
Not that extreme of an effect.
And the weather the weather didn't play a factor either.
No, the weather was very consistent, very steady. It was good. I mean, it was a little cloudy and cooler one day, but that's not going to hurt anything too much. The lake, just to go back to your point about shaking or, leaving an area, stuff like that. We had one little, so we were in a big, huge area, but there was one little, and I'm fishing very shallow. I've been fishing very, very, very shallow myself.
Me too.
And we had one little stretch. It was a little magic stretch, and it was, just a little kind of corner nook out of the grass line that was in there. And there were some lily pads mixed in and stuff. But we had this one little niche that was, they were just stacked in there, Dave. I mean, and the week before they were on down the grass line a little ways. And then that week of the tournament, they moved into this little corner and it's kind of set up in there. And what was great about that one, Dave, there was little fish in there eating little shad, and you could catch those too. I mean, the last pre-fishing trip I ran was on Wednesday. I didn't run one Thursday, and then the tournament started Friday. The last pre-fishing trip I ran on Wednesday, the very first bite we got in there was one of the ones that would make you mad. It was like this fat little fish, but it was 16 and a 16, by like a line burner. Like
we had one of those that weighed 66.
So they were the point is they were the right side. There were some right size ones in there for unders, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there had been some gizzard shad moving there, and there was some really big ones like gizzard shad porpoising out of the surface at times, like feeding activity. And there was some big ones, and we had caught a couple like slot fish in there, but I knew with those gizzard shad being in there would be some overs in it. And it's an area that's notorious for kicking. I've caught overs in years past in September in there, so it's kind of a known area. But anyway, put them in there. We go in there on Wednesday morning. We catch 1, we catch 2, we catch 3, we catch 4. And I'm like, dude, we need to leave. We can't leave, Dave. There's boats behind me waiting to come in here and catch these fish. So what did we do? We set up, and we could kind of block this area off because it wasn't very big. So we set up out in front of it, like just kind of turned around on the trolling motor, power pulled down, and we would cast in there like we were fishing, and we were shaking them off. Like we were literally getting bit and then raising our rod and shaking them. Like we were doing
that. Got the t-shirt. Yep.
Yeah. So we were shaking fish off just to play. Like we probably sat in there for 2 hours just shaking fish off, just to not let anybody else come see how good that stretch was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how good the lake's fishing, and it is. The shallow deal right now, I'm going to tell you what it is. It is, to me, what I've seen, there's little stretches that are magic.
Yeah.
You can grind a bite out almost anywhere shallow. Like you can just go down any bank and grind a bite here, a bite an hour, right? Like a bite an hour type deal. There's little windows of little magic stretches where if you sat down and be thorough, you might catch 15 or 20 or more. Or more, depending on the area. That's kind of what I've seen going on. Has that been kind of the same for you or what?
Exactly. I mean, we got into a little stretch. Here was the weird thing in one of these creeks that the water, whenever it had come down, there was grass, all the way in the back. Well, I noticed the water was clearer back there. And that was one of the key things that I was looking for, that clear water. And why? Because I was throwing a little swim bait, a little Reaction Innovation Little Dipper in there with a 3/16 tungsten, a 3/0 hook. And I'm going to tell you what, those things would knock the rod out of your hand in that area. Well, then on the day before the tournament, I mean, this had been like 5 days. I guided just about every day, and we had different areas like that. And I noticed on the day before the tournament that in one of those areas, I says, man, this looks way different. It got substantially shallower over that week in there. and those fish had moved out further out and got, down the line quite a bit of ways away from where those fish that we originally found were. And we got some good quality in there. And the grass was, and one thing I noticed about it, even though it's coontail grass, some of the places are hydrilla, the grass was deeper, a little bit deeper. And that's where they took up residence. And so I told my guy, I said, you make sure you pay attention to this, because my sense is that those fish are moving this way because it happened last year, right before the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like it's pretty normal for the lake to fall a little bit this time of year. And there's some evaporation factor. It seems like to me, so I don't know that everybody knows this, but there's a big pump house on Lake Fork. Everybody knows that. It's over there at the mouth of Williams Creek, No Name, all that. Everybody's seen the big pump house if you run down the west arm of the lake. And I think some people think it's a power thing. It's not power. It's actually a pump house to pump water over the lake. It pairs up with the water system below Lake Tawakoni and then goes to Dallas for Dallas water rights. I mean, that's Lake Fork's purpose, is water rights anyway. That's what it. But in the 80s, they never pumped out of there. The pump house was never operational until, and I want to say it was like right around the COVID time, like 5 or 6 years ago was when, maybe a year or two after that, a year or two before that. But somewhere in there is when the pump house actually, for the first time, started actually sending water to Dallas. Okay. Yeah. Now they had done tests and filled the pipes up, and then, but so they turned it off and on over the years a little bit here and there. It had never sent water to Dallas until 5 or 6 years ago, somewhere in that area. So ever since then, I've noticed that somewhere between September and November, there's like a 2-month stretch where the lake falls more than it should.
And that's because that's when they're buying.
It seems like they've got them on a schedule that's when we send Lake Fork water to Dallas. It's almost like the Dallas water system has so many, if you look at a map, so many lakes around DFW that they're pulling water from.
I used to get that report.
It seems like they're on a schedule where they pull from this lake for a little while, then they pull from that lake for a little while, and they try to spread the love. Well, Lake Fork seems to be in the fall when they pull. And so I think we've got a little bit. I've noticed, I'll say all that to say this. I have noticed the lake looks like it's going down a little bit every day right now.
Exactly.
Like, it's not real noticeable. It's just like you look on the reed heads and you look on the grass mat got a little more thick the next day than it was the day before. Like,
and that's exactly in some of these spots I was in, exactly what happened.
Yeah, so I do think they're pulling some water. The water is falling. That is a factor. It's not falling enough to run them out of shallow water by any means. But it can read that they are on the move. Say all that to say this. They're on the move because, and that's one of the reasons. Also, man, they're on so much bait right now, Dave. And when they're on bait, when they're on shad, you know how that is, dude. Shad kind of follow the wind blowing the plankton, and shad just kind of wander around anyway. And so when those bass are just following that bait around, they're liable to pick up and move on you any day. You got to be ready to cover water and find the activity. You need to find bait presence and activity levels are the two key things right now. You got to search those out every day. Don't just assume because they were in there last weekend, because they were in there yesterday, does not mean you're going to get the same thing today. You've got to have an open mind, be willing.
Well, look at this observation. I'm a data freak. And remember when we had that really, really cold snap 2 weeks ago? It was
yeah.
All right. Some of those areas, the water temp dropped down to 76. And when that water got below 80 in there, dude, it was game on set.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy.
It was insane. The bite was so good, shallow. All right. So then in the ensuing days after that, it was warmer. It kept getting warmer. That water worked its way this past week all the way back up to 86 to 88 degrees.
Yeah.
And I got to looking back at my records from last year when we pummeled them in a couple of 2 or 3 of these areas. The water temp was 80 degrees, not 88 degrees. Wow. And I think that played a role in that shallow water and how those fish bit this year versus last year. Now, the Berkeley's coming up in 3 weeks. And I think what's going to happen, the timing of this is going to be good, that water is going to start to cool, and then it's going to go back to game on.
So, yeah, I mean, well, it's like you have a background in TV production or something, because like you've been a color, because you lead me right into the transition of what's coming. Well, what's coming? What's coming Wednesday, Dave?
What's coming Wednesday? Oh, it's cold. Yeah, that's when the first call. I was going to say me sleeping till 8 o'clock.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a high of 70. A high of 77 Wednesday is
Perfect.
going. So here's what happens. And for my summary of what Dave's talking about, yes, the water temps got cool, got gangbusters up shallow. The water temps heated back up over several weeks. It kind of pulled some fish out a little bit. Mostly, it just kind of like made the windows of activity smaller to me. Like there would be timing became a big deal for me the last week or two, where I would have this spot would go off right after you got light, like first early in the morning.
Right.
And then I'd have another spot that wouldn't go off until 10 a.m. And it'd be from 10 to noon, you'd catch them in there. You know what I mean? Then you have an afternoon spot. The timing became a really big deal for me because the feeding windows, activity levels in that shallow water got shorter and shorter and shorter as the water got hotter. Well, what's fixing to happen now on Wednesday is you're going to have new fish, fresh fish, jump in there with and fresh bait, fresh shad. More life is going to move shallow Wednesday, which is going to increase the bite windows, and the areas are going to get bigger that these fish are biting in. So
that's what I think is going to happen in the next 3 weeks. Yeah. Also, I mean, the thing too is that in going in the backs of every creek on Lake Fork, I literally went to every single creek and researched them and looked at them and looked at their positives, looked at their negatives and what could be. And there was places in behind grass where I found water that I could see the bottom in 3.5 foot of water. And it was 10:30 in the morning one day, and I'm back in there looking at this. I can see those fish swimming around all over the place in there, and they wouldn't hit the swim bait. They wouldn't hit an underspin. They wouldn't hit a chatterbait. I dug out a Senko, put a Senko on with a 1/16 tungsten watermelon copperhead. It's a yum dinger. And I started throwing it. I had 25, caught 25 immediately. It didn't take very long at all. And that's what they bit in the sunshine. And so another the sunshine game was way different than the cloudy day game.
Another little bait that can, I mean, and you got to do that this time of year. Like you got to be ready. Mostly you're going to replicate shad. There is always a little bit of a worm bite in the fall. But mostly, for the most part, you're going to replicate shad, okay? And then there's different baits. I know me and you both love that little dipper, the skinny dipper's little cousin, the little dipper in the white color. We both love to throw that on a 3/0 flashy swimmer this time of year. I know, I'm sure you've been throwing it. I've been throwing it. My customer's been throwing it. You got that. If you can get a chatterbait small enough profile, that can work at times. Flukes have been great. Flukes and Senkos. Weightless are good. Little light Texas rigs have been good. But another little bait that kind of doesn't get talked about till a little later in fall, that little 1/4 ounce lipless crankbait.
Well, and I had one tied on, and I threw it a lot, but I also caught some on a beetle spin.
Dude. So, oh my gosh, that is such a good idea. And I don't know why we never do this. You know, like,
dude, it was awesome.
We never think about doing this when they're
in H&H.
We know they get on little bitty bait. We know they get on little bitty bait this time of year. We all know that.
It depends on what quality. It depends on what quality of fish you're looking for. But I had my clients. I mean, this is what we're leaning on. I call them stage walkers. But let me tell you this: in the middle of this melee of chasing after these little fish, we caught 2 22.5-inch bass in that 3.5 foot of water that weighed between 6 and 7 pounds.
This time of year, you will absolutely catch giants on little bitty bait.
Yep.
They can happen every single and for you guys that are watching in Dallas or Houston or where, guess what? It's like this everywhere. When you get to the summer to fall transition in the very early part of fall, fish all across the South get on little tiny shad, and you can go catch numbers of fish and have a good time with that. And they'll be mostly smaller fish, but the big ones will bite the little bitty baits too this time of year. Every single year this happens. You know, David, before I was even making regular YouTube videos, I made some other videos. And one of the very first ones I did was in October, early October. Okay.
Never mind.
It's all good. Early October. And it was about throwing the little 1/4 ounce spinnerbait with a little bitty tiny willow blade, little profile. So that was.
And we use that too.
10 years ago, I was talking about that. And you could probably go back to September, October timeframe and find a video of me preaching on little baits this time of year, every year for the last 10 years. It always happens. We had a good question on Facebook. Are guides not allowed to fish the big bass tournaments?
No.
Guides are not allowed to fish any of the weekend angler style derbies that are made for your working men that come out on the weekends. The only time you're allowed to is if you don't guide on fork for an extended period of time. Some of the tournaments have like a window. David, you know more about that with bass champs and stuff. Tell me about that.
Yeah, because I've fished all those events and got kicked out of just about all of them. Bass Champs is the only tournament that I can fish now. And that's usually in February, which I arrange my guide schedule around it where I can fish that event. But like last year, strangely enough, right before that event, I had some clients book me in order to point them in the right direction of what to do at that time of the year. And so with what I was making off the guide trips, I said, I'd have to finish third to break even. So I passed on the tournament last year. Now this year I might not, but Curtis Daniels and I finished fourth one year. We made 4,300 in it. And I just absolutely love fishing that time of the year, the end of February. And, we caught the crap out of it. We had almost a 10-pound bag that day. So, but it's back up just a little bit. We were talking about that spinnerbait. I put my clients this week on, and I said, I'll let the cat out of the bag. I mean, at this time of the year, over the years back when I was fishing those stringer tournaments for and years.
He said he's going to let the cat out. Hold on. Wait. Time out. Hey, go back to you're going to let the cat out of the bag because you froze right after you said I'm going to let the cat out of the bag.
The cat out of the bag is when I was fishing those stringer tournaments. I figured out way back then that during this time of the year, even going into October, you want to have that spinnerbait you're talking about, that 1/4 ounce spinnerbait, shorten the skirt up just a little bit, but you want to take the wire off and change the whole architecture of that to one willow leaf that is a number 2 blade. All right. You cannot believe for that game how big a difference that makes. Now what I'll have 2 rigged on the deck. I'll have that one, and then I'll have one with 2 very, very, very small Colorado blades that if the water happens to be a little more dingy, that it'll give me a little bit more vibration in there because those baits work through the junk, that spinnerbait, a lot better than even a chatterbait in the stuff we're fishing in. And then the next step up from that is an underspin that has a small willow on the bottom of it. And then the ultimate is, like we said a while ago, the Little Dipper with a 3/16 tungsten and a 3/0 hook. You can get that thing through the worst garbage on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the stair step. And based off of the location and what kind of environment that you're throwing that bait in and determining, here's another odd thing this year. Well, it ain't an odd thing, but most of the fish we caught, and I'm sure you noticed if you fished a tournament this weekend, all had a dark back, the black back. They were all grass fish where they were buried under the grass at all times, and they managed to leak out or sneak out, and they would bite that bait. When you get them in the boat, you just couldn't believe how dark those fish were. And they're all just hiding. Also, that tells
you some of those fish have been there for a while. They've been
there, and they live in that grass.
Yeah.
And
I will say that I saw dark fish for sure, but I had 1 or 2 areas, this was in Carl. Saw this as a good sign, where I had some pretty light colored fish, which tells me they just got there. And I always like to see that too.
And was that dirtier water? It had to be dirtier water.
No. The water was clean. Water was clean. Yeah,
no,
they just got there. That's all that could be, is they just got there. So, which I see that as a sign of encouragement. Here's one thing, and we talked about this some in the spring, and I think it works for the fall too. These fish do not have the ability to think critically. They don't have the ability to make great decisions and all that, obviously, or this sport wouldn't work because they eat metal and plastic every day or we wouldn't be there. So, but what they have is great instincts. And to them, the only thing they have to tell them when to do something, when to do anything, is the daylight window. The hours of daylight that we have are their calendar. So even when we get these warm spells after a cold front, I don't know that they ever really just run back to deep water and set up like it's summer again. I think they know by the daylight period that it's time to start going this direction. Like it's time for us to make our way here. It's time for us to make. And I think that gets ingrained in a fishery because if you look at power plant lakes, power plant lakes spawn in January, sometimes December, but January is a big, probably the prime spawning month for the power plant lake. When it's running power every day, they spawn in January.
I've caught them on beds right after Christmas, the week after Christmas.
Yes. So Because, and the reason that is because with the heated water coming in the lake, the
Right,
only
exactly.
time the water even gets close to the 60s is January. So when they shut the plant off in Lake Monticello years ago, those fish were on a calendar that during the shortest daylight window of the year, that's when they go to the backs of the creeks. And it stayed with those fish for years because 2-3 years after they shut the plant off, you could go to the back of the two creeks on Monticello. It's a small lake. There's only two creek arms.
Yep.
You can go to the back of them and catch fish like they're spawning on a chatterbait, on a swim bait in January.
Yeah.
And the water's like 50 degrees, 48 degrees.
Yeah,
And
we
they're
had
not
one-
acting like that.
we
They're
had one
acting
day
like
there.
they're
We
trying
caught 3 10-pounders there one day.
Yeah, they're acting like they're trying to spawn because that has been their calendar year after year, and that gets ingrained in them. So I say all that to say this. That's why my saying of the night is I say all that to say this. I like it. It's a good one. So on Fort right now, these fish know that October's around the corner by the daylight period. And in October, a bunch of them get shallow. So they're going to start moving that way, whether the sun, the temperature tells them to or not, they're going to start doing it. We've seen that in the spring sometimes where the water stays cold a long time and some of them just start spawning because by God, it's March 15th. We need to spawn. And you could have 55, 54 degree water on March 15th and you'll find fish on beds. Like it happens. So,
yeah, the strange thing too, this year was the perfect storm. And we got the atomic cry wolf deal with that cold front 2 weeks ago that dropped that water temperature at the end of August. And I mean, that shouldn't have happened. I mean, normally that don't happen till the 3rd week of September.
Yeah, no, August is normally dog days. August is normally
what
dog
happened
days.
was that water dropped down. Those fish, some shad moved into those areas, and those fish went to town on them. And then as it was after that started warming back up, I'm in there putting those people in there for the tournaments as the water's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. I don't know if the shad started working their way back a little bit more towards the main lake or the fish decided to follow them. But I was stone shocked to death to not see that they had a bunch of, 230, 240, 250 class fish. And I mean, it was the perfect storm. It started warming. The water got hotter and hotter and hotter. There's nothing I could have done about it. But I was like, man, I'll tell you what, that was the biggest spoof that ever happened on that shallow water stuff. I mean, I was really shocked. I've never seen that happen before. I've been here for a zillion years. First time I ever saw a front that strong in the latter part of August.
Yeah, no, it was freakish for sure. It was like 2 of them. There was like one and it cooled off a little bit, and then there was an even stronger one. It cooled off
blown away. Well, and it's floated up to this long, and the water temps are still pretty daggum hot, and so now officially this week, this is all going to change, starting on Wednesday, Thursday.
Let's start answering. We got a couple comments we can answer here, some questions. Yeah, guys, we're going to start answering questions and comments. If y'all got some questions, be sure you drop them in there. We'll be happy to answer them however you want to. I don't know why this guy didn't just click the link and join us, but he commented instead. But I want to go ahead and throw this. This is for you, Dave. He wants to know, Ozio, how was the fishing during the Revolutionary War?
It's got to be Cody. Was that Cody?
Yeah,
shocker.
that's Cody. Yeah.
Shocker, big shocker. It was very good. Matter of fact, the cane pole I had, I put a whopper plopper on it, and I just go back and forth real fast and catch them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, Tim Bolton, this is more of a real fishing question. Have you noticed a worm bite where they will run with the bait, but when you go to set the hook, nothing is there? That and frogs getting flipped into the air but not bit. I think what you're experiencing there is a little bit of the perennial pressure that Lake Fork has. I haven't noticed that being anything out of the ordinary, but usually when fish are interested in a bait, intrigued by a bait, but won't commit to it, there's a couple different things. It could be one, you could be throwing the wrong color. You could be not quite working the bait in a way that really makes them fully attack it. One little added twitch of something here or there can make them go ahead and commit and bite. But a lot of times, pressured fisheries, which Lake Fork obviously is, you just get more fish that won't fully commit because they're constantly, perennially, all year, there's pressure on them.
Color has a lot to do with that. I want to tell you a story. I mean, this is for your fans. Why am I giving up all this shit? This is not right. But anyway, I was using that Yum Dinger I told you about with the it's watermelon copperhead. Well, I'm with the client, and he said, we're not doing terribly good. We're not doing terribly bad. And he said, you got any Houdini Senkos in your box? And I said, well, Yeah, I think I got back there. I got two big old things, packs. I'm digging. I had a half a pack of Houdini left. All right. He says, "You got any of those tail spinner things?" And I said, "Well, I think
Oh
I
yeah.
do." So rigged it up, put a tail spinner on it, got him. I said, "Okay, here we go. We're still carrying on, doing what we were doing." Dude, this guy sat back on the back of the boat, train wrecked him on a Houdini with a tail spinner, and that ended up being the clear water sunshine bait of the day. That thing just absolutely brought him. It was amazing. It
Something,
was
when I'm getting that, it's always I try to do little small adjustments, whether it's going from watermelon with flake, so say watermelon candy, and
yeah,
I'll just go to water. So I'll take that away and go watermelon seed. You know, just something little, or like like you're saying, adding a blade to the back, or if it's a crankbait, if I steady retrieving bouncing off wood, I'll add some start stops or jerks in there. Jerk bait, changing the cadence. Just little adjustments can change from, and you play around till you get a couple to commit, and then you stick with that. Is what you do. Well, you're talking about that little blade on the back of a Cinco. So that is the B-Row Cinco, David. That's what that's officially called. Is the B-Row Cinco.
B-Row Cinco.
I'll tell you why. That was so before I was even guiding, I saw that on the Timmy Horton fishing show where he put that little willow blade screw in hitchhiker on the back of a Cinco and was catching them on a big grass flat and talking about when it's tough, when you're not getting bit, this is what you do, blah, blah. I got into a little immediate post-spawn stretch one year fishing some local derbies where I was struggling, and I did that. I put that blade on the back of that Cinco, and I got up shallow and paralleled the vegetation on the bank with it, and I won it the next tournament that I fished by so much. Like my third biggest five would have won the tournament. I caught 35, 40 fish in a day doing that, and that bait just worked unbelievably. So I've been doing it for a long time, but I had a customer several years back now named Brad Rowe, and he came out one year, and Brad Rowe, they're from north of the Midwest area, don't have a lot of big fish, not as good at fishing in that area as we have in the South. So he fishes, but he's not super experienced. Well, I give him this. I go, look, dude. I go, Lake Fork's a tough lake. And that goes with a comment. We're fixing to address this too, that Lake Fork bass are smart. Yes, they are. But Lake Fork bass are smart. And if you're not an experienced angler, Lake Fork is not the place to start because they can be tough to catch out here, man.
I got other places I take my novice clients to.
That's right. That's right. So gave him that bait. I said, look, this bait's simple. You can throw it out there just very slowly, keep it moving, reel it in, and you can catch fish doing this. And he whacked them that day. The first day I gave it to him, he whacked them. Fast forward a year later, he comes back. And I believe this guy's fished with, I think the second year, maybe both years, but I think for sure the second year, I think he fished with Cody. He booked multiple days, and he fished with me, and then I was already booked, so he fished with Cody or whatever. Well, dude, like I wasn't even using that Cinco with a blade on it. He didn't want to throw anything else. And I'll be damned. He goes out there and he catches him again on that thing. And his name was Brad Rowe. And it's like, he said that whole year after he left here, like up in Indiana or wherever he lived, he's like, all he threw was the Cinco. So that Brad, in honor of Brad Rowe throwing it year round, that is now officially the B-Rowe Cinco.
And the strange thing about that too, and this did happen, where you're working it, you're bouncing, you're working it through the grass, and then all of a sudden you reel it in to make another cast. And then it's like it's turned into a swim bait because that tail's back there going like this, and all of a sudden, wham, one hits it.
I fish it like primarily the way I fish it is like a very slow rolled swim bait where I'll let it kind of dip down and then swim it through, and then let it dip down and swim it through. It's like a very slow rolled swim bait. It's how I mostly fish it. So Dustin Wright say just left Lake Fork. Dang, them bass are smart. Yes, they are. They are very smart. Lake Fork bass are harder to catch than anywhere else around here in East Texas for sure. And maybe anywhere else in the country. I don't know. But, I mean, again, when you look at the fact that this lake is roughly the quarter of the size of just about any other destination lake you want to point at. When I say destination lake, I mean a lake that people travel all across the country to come to. Like Clear Lake, huge. Okeechobee, huge. Kentucky Lake, Baggin Lake, huge. Gunnersville, huge. Rayburn, Toledo, huge. Compared to like Lake Fork's no more than a quarter of any of those lakes. The amount of pressure per acre that these fish get is just out of this world. Like it's second to none. And that's why, to me, when you look at the results from this weekend, you have to factor that in. I mean, it's a tough lake. It is getting over 1,000 boats on it this weekend. These fish are so pressured, and to still have 31 overs come in, my gosh, what a lake, man!
Which is
my
impressive.
Gosh, there is no other lake that deals with that and does that. Like, there's no other lake like Fort.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just see a brighter future than the last 3 years. I mean, just for the fact of pulling 31 overs in, I mean, that's a huge positive. People just don't even know. I mean, that bodes well. I've always said this, and I've been saying it for a long time. Fork is a lake that your average novice or even amateur struggles on because it requires more skill to do well on Fork. I mean, consistently do well. Your skill set has to be, your casting has to be superb, and your targeting depends on whether you're flipping docks, flipping wood, or you're looking for brush piles. Your ability to sift out where not to be is really the key strategy. And this year was no different. I mean, I ruled out a lot of stuff and decided that I'm going to camp out on the bank, and that's where we're going to stay.
Yep. This guy wants to know if you have any muscadine Senkos. I don't know what
no muscadine Senkos.
What is a muscadine Senko?
Now, what we did do, you know, I mean, what I determined, and I might as well just tell you this. I mean, that bait worked exceptionally good in the sunshine, but early in the morning, you've got to use something darker. I mean, we were using a V&M Texas Smoke, you know, for the first hour, and you could get bit just as easily on that. But then all of a sudden, you get to that transition 8 to 9 window, and then the bite was a little bit slower, and you had one guy throwing one of those and another guy throwing the other one and seeing which one would trigger. But it depended on the angle of the sun, and it depended on the clouds. What was going to trigger that bite is what I really figured out. And then under the bright sunshine, that other one worked perfectly, you know, all day.
Case and Winich over on Facebook wants to know, I don't know what this is. What are your thoughts on Eagle Eye 9? Pros or cons? I don't know what Eagle Eye 9 is. Do you?
No. Eagle, is that a graph setup or what?
I'm assuming it's some type of graph, but I don't know what that is. I don't know.
Not sure.
Hey, Ozio, I don't know. I mean, I know you're kind of old and like technology's new and all that, but you realize those phones have like a silent button you can turn on where it won't ring. It'll just vibrate.
Yeah, I know, but
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you knew that because
I
know how old people in technology are.
Hold on a second.
Cody Story throws a comment in there, says, and who knows how many 23.5-inch fish were caught. He said they had 2 that were over 8. And I mean, look, an 8-pounder for most people, you come like Fort, catch an 8-pounder, man, that's a lot of people, that's their biggest, you know, and 8-pounders, nobody's ever disappointed in catching an 8-pounder. I don't care how good, how experienced you are. I mean, he's right. Like, how many 7-8-pound 23-inch fish were caught this weekend? Who knows? It was a lot. I guarantee that it was a lot because of the results of the overs. But man, all this is, you know, to say, come to Lake Fork. If you want a guide, we would love it if you hollered at us. But, man, regardless of whether you get a guide, it helps to get a guide. Like we're talking about, Lake Fork is so tough. It helps to get in guys' boats that have a lot of experience.
And I'll give you one caveat to go with that.
Like Cody, all those guys have so much experience. But you want to be at Lake Fork because of what lives there. Like, yes, it's hard to catch them. Yes, you might not catch very many fish when you come here. Even if you come on your own, you want to come to Lake Fork because of the possibilities. You know, what lives in this lake is just different than everywhere else.
Yeah. Well, also, too, with guides, I mean, and then people learn the hard way, is that you want to book a guide really that's a full-time guide. I mean, people that are on the water all the time, and versus, you know, people that work a full-time job and you know, they guide on the weekends. You know, that water time is priceless. I can tell you that.
Ain't no doubt, dude. The time on the water is a big deal, man. It's a big deal. And there, you know, I'm not going to get into the negatives of the guiding industry because that'll be a whole rant.
But we need to change directions on that real quick.
There is some differences and options out there.
Well, but if you're like Cody Mays and you sleep till noon every day and you don't start guiding till 2, I mean, you know, that's just, you know, that guy, that's just, you know, some guys are like that. I mean,
he's
a good fisherman and everything, but you know, heck, you know, he'll go out and catch a fish in 3 hours and he'll say, okay, we're done.
Dude, that's
not
so
really.
Yeah,
I'm busting Cody.
I know you are. Look, hey, if Cody can say you fish in the Revolutionary War, I guess you can say that. But
Yeah, I owe him.
No, I mean, well, I will say this: the guys that I have brought on here over the years, very few exceptions. Here's my philosophy: is if I meet a guy and he's trying to guide out here, and he's working at it, or I feel like he's working at it, or he wants to do it, I will help anybody I can help until they give me a reason not to.
Exactly.
There's been one guy over the years that I let on. He was on one video, and I found out pretty soon after, and I immediately wanted nothing to do with him. Other than that, everybody that I've brought on here over the years, every single guy that's ever been on here, whether I still like them and still get along with them or not, they fish a lot, they work hard, they're dedicated to this craft. If you've seen somebody on your Lake Fork guide, they are not some fly-by-night trying to pull the wool over your eyes and they're going to take you on an 8-hour boat ride and take your money. Like, I have never had guys on here like that. I don't do that. Like, if I'm going to put the Your Lake Fork Guide brand on that guy's face when he comes on this channel, they're dudes that you can call and have a good trip. Now, you may not always catch them, but he's going to give you an honest effort, and he's been on the water. That's going to happen. Yeah. So,
well, I always check with the clients that call me. Matter of fact, that phone right there was somebody wanting to book. I'll quiz the customer and talk to them. And my goal is I want them to have the absolute best possible day they can have. And I want to swing the odds drastically in their favor. And so, when I find out they're novices or amateurs, there's other lakes, man. You can go to Athens. You can go to some of these other lakes where if you're just after, entertainment and having a great time, catching a bunch of fish, have a great day, there's other places we can go. If you're after a big fish, and your goal is, I want to catch a 7, 8, 9, 10 pounder, then we're going to camp on Fork. That's just all there is to it. And it's been that way for a long, long time. But I found out over the years.
Or real quick, if you want to catch like a 30-pound best five bag, Fork's the place.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and so bites most of the time, you'll get bites on Fork, and your best five will weigh 25 pounds. There used to be a day on this lake, 10 years ago where 30 pound was a norm for every day. No,
it still gets in those stretches. Like when it's good, like when it's really fishing good, like there'll come a stretch in this fall where 25 pounds every day is a thing. Yeah. There's stretches every spring and early summer.
It's more in the spring.
Every day we catch 25 pounds. Some days we catch 35. Like there's stretches when it's good, and there's stretches when it's tougher and you grind out the, 15 to 20 pound bags, and that's just what you get. That time of year, and then occasionally you'll catch a big one here or there and go over that. But it still gets those good stretches where 25 pounds every day is like just what it is. Like it's every day.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say you can't do that on Rayburn. You can't go there every day. You can't go there every day and have a 20-pound bag.
No,
you just can't.
Even when it's good.
Yeah, you can't do it. But Fork, you can do it.
Yes, and you can look. Granted, these guys are amazingly good, and I've got some great couple questions on Facebook I'm going to get to here. We got some questions coming on YouTube. We're going to get those as well. You can look at the Elite Series or even Bass Pro Tour when they go to Toledo, Rayburn, Fork. You can tell the difference between Fork and the rest, right? You can tell the difference because if you look at the depth of the big bags, the 10 Century belts at Fork, that's 4 days averaging 25 pounds. Over 25 pounds. Like there's, all of the top 10 hits that mark. And if you let more fish on Sunday, there'd be more than 10 that would hit that mark. You look at tournaments on Toledo and Rayburn, guys, they're great. The winner does that. Not everybody does that. Those guys are really good, yes. But Lake Fork's just a different animal. Like the depth of those 100-pound bags over 4 days on Fork are just, it's just different, man. You want to catch the best 5 fish you can catch, or you want to catch the biggest fish you can catch. Other than Ivy, January through March, man, there ain't no place better than Lake Fork.
There ain't no place better. That's for damn sure. And look, check your questions.
Let's get to some questions. The Eagle Eye 9 is a type of forward-facing sonar. Me and David have never heard about it, so we can't comment on it, but it is a type of forward-facing sonar. Apparently, really? Dave, I don't know anything about it. Yep. Is Jason Hoffman still guiding on Fork? Yes. Yes. I see him from time to time. I coached flag football against him for the last few years. My kid's done with that now. My kid's playing junior high ball, but I see Jason. I used to see Jason in the fall. Like this time of year, I used to see Jason every Saturday on a flag football field.
I see him all the time.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Kaysen says, I took them on a past guide trip. I don't remember the name, but I guarantee you, Kaysen, I would remember your face. If I could click on that and look at your profile without exiting my live, I would know who you were. I just can't. I'm terrible with names because I meet 2 new names every day, but I remember faces really well.
He's just getting older. That's all.
Maybe. I mean, look, that didn't used to be there. That did not used to be there, Dave. That used to be there.
You have to start calling you Graybeard.
That's right. That's right. Let's see. Don't let Cody eat crawfish before a trip. That's another Cody Mays tip. Don't let him eat crawfish before a trip. I have a feeling like there was a trip back to the marina involved in that, or potentially an on the water accident. I don't know. Ozio Cody Mays says he believes that he beat you to the ramp every day. The nursing home bus doesn't drop you off until after 10.
I'll get you. Don't worry, I'll get you.
Yeah, it's nonstop around here, as y'all can see. You cannot have a lot of sensitive feelings in this friend group around here. What is the current temps? Here's a real fishing question. What's current temps in the backs of the creeks?
86, 88 is what I just saw.
I was a little bit below that. I was kind of in the 84, 85 range, but like I also didn't get on the water over the weekend while the tournament was going on. I haven't been on Fork since Wednesday.
Well, I checked the back of Coffee Creek on the day before the tournament. The water in Coffee Creek, because the water's dirtier there, was 90. Behind the bridge in Coffee Creek, it was 90.
Yeah, and see, I haven't been going like I have one area that I go way back. Other than that, like I'm in creeks, but I'm in corners, and I'm not necessarily in the back of creeks. To me, I mean, that's where more residential fish will be, but like you don't have to do that right now. There's been enough fish move up that you don't have to go to the back. Right. And the water temps did stay a little bit cooler if you were out towards the main body a little bit. So,
well, the thing too about that was that back there, the fish were schooling back there, but water was warmer, but they were all tiny. Every one of them.
The schoolers are tiny. When you see the real, like, true schoolers that come up and stay up,
I didn't even put anybody in there on them. I mean, you could have a good time in there, but I never could catch a quality fish. And I went in there like 2-3 times checking it to see if I could catch a better quality, and tried different things in the grass on the edge of the creek and whatnot, and they were just all small. So I bailed on it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm having some Wi-Fi issues on Facebook. Pause for effect one time real quick. Sorry.
As per the last half of your question, Vance, coming starting next week, I mean, whenever we start getting that cold front to come through, the backs of the creeks will be the first to cool down, and they will get colder faster. And then that's shallow water. It's even shallow water back there. And so it won't take long at all for that water temp to come down. But here's the problem with that. When we roll in October, things like that, when you get a good solid front come through and that water drops, say 6 degrees, 7 degrees.
Hey, real quick, if you're watching on Facebook, we got it back up. Sorry for the disconnection. David, continue.
If you're back there, when you get a temp with these Florida strain bass, when those temps drop that abrupt overnight, those fish will lock up for a day or so. They just won't bite. And I mean, you've even got to go into finesse mode and get something slow in order just to try to trick them into biting. And 90% of the time, those fish won't bite after an incident like that until the afternoon.
Over on Facebook, got a question. Have I ever fished Lake Wright Patman? This is Case in Winnick again. He has a tournament there in a week or two. I've never fished it.
Nope.
I've heard things about it. I think it's mostly a shallow fishery, like flooded cover, flooded trees, flooded bushes. I think it's kind of one of those dirty water, shallow fish. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. I've never.
I do not know.
Yeah, don't know. Cody says that he says the eagle eye. Apparently, Cody's seen the eagle eye. Says the eagle eye is okay, but you can't see. You can't see out in front of you. You can only see about 20 feet in front of you. So the image is not good after 20 feet, I guess is what Cody's saying there. But he says, but it's great for crappie and down mode. There you go. And then the next question is advice or tips for Berkeley next month. I'm going to silence you, Dave. We're going to hold off on that because we could give you guesses right now. But if you guys will stay tuned, we're going to start doing live streams every Monday evening. And we're going to give you better tips the week of for sure. In the week before that, like we're going to constantly be getting more information on how the lake's responding to the weather. And David, I know you'll agree with this. That could be, we could be fishing by Berkeley. We could be fishing 70-degree water, or we could be fishing 85-degree water. And it all depends on what the weather does between now and then. So
we'll have cold. We should have cold fronts, but also too. I mean, the one thing that I do is like on the Fish Life app, I put locations in there of where I've been, and I label it unders. I'll put the waypoint, and I'll put I'm targeting unders. Billy and Cody and McFarland, all these guys, they're trying for those 19-pound bass. And a lot of the people that I take out, they just want to have a bunch of stage walkers, get a bunch of checks, and have a great time. And so I go a little bit different direction what those guys do, and I'll label that in there as unders. And this is what I found. This is what I caught them on. This was the time of day. This was the water temp. I try to give all the details that I can in order to at least give you a heads up.
Fish Life app is phenomenal. So I didn't count it up. So I had some customers that weighed some fish in and cashed some checks this weekend. I know we had some people that I see view the channel. I know I saw their names on the leaderboard. There's one in here on Facebook right now that he's been viewing it for a long time. I've seen his name in here plenty of times. Raybo McGee. Easy name to remember, Raybo McGee. Raybo McGee. He weighed an over on Saturday and an under on Sunday, made 2150, 2,100.
Job.
So good job. Yep. Clap it up. Big clap. Big round of applause for Raybo. Good job, Raybo. That's awesome. Congratulations. But he's not alone. And so I had a few guide customers at Cash Eggs, and I had Fish Life app users. And just so you know, when you guys subscribe to the Fish Life app, it's the most greatest tool you could ever use to get fishing information. It's even better than these videos. The only thing better than the Fish Life app is to take a guide trip. It's the next step down from that. We had people that use the Fish Life app. The only way I know if you use the Fish Life app is if people tell me they use it, because I can't see who uses it on the back end. So there is no telling how many of those fish that were caught this weekend were caught using the Fish Life app. But I do know some of them. I didn't count it up like I did the overs. I should have. I just kind of got rushed right before we got on the air, so I didn't do that. But I will. I will go back and count up how many checks from Sealy's were Guide Trip pre-fish customers and Fish Life app users and viewers of the channel that I know. And that's kind of like the Fish Life app. I don't know everybody that views the channel. I only see the ones that comment on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But I know this, that your Lake Fork Guide influence had a great weekend. Like whether it was – and when I say your Lake Fork Guide, I don't mean Billy Lawson. I mean all of us. I mean Mike, David, Cody, me, Zach, Watts, everybody else that helps us with it. We just had a great weekend. Cody said he had 4 of them, 4 checks from Cody, so add that to it. I mean, we give real information here, guys, and it has a great effect. It's had great results. And when it comes to the app and the guide trips, the results that it's produced over the years, you can't argue with it. I mean, I'll count the checks up for this week. The 2 overs in the owners tournament, even the winning fish came from guide trips in my boat. And I'm sure, David, you had checks in the owners tournament as well, right? Yeah, I mean, it's every tournament. Like there'll be some from the Berkeley that come up that we'll have success with. So not every customer that goes on a pre-fishing trip wins money. That's not the way it is. Okay, there's things that happen. Sometimes it doesn't work out. You get beat to a spot. You get overcrowded on the spot. You lose the money fish. I had one guy this weekend that had what he said was he felt it was for sure and over, jumped it off, So, I mean, that happens, You're looking for that one bite. If that one bite comes unbuttoned, there goes your weekend and your prep, So it can be different. But, yeah, I feel like I'm bragging too much here, but it is what it is, man. We get great results because we put in a great deal of work for a lot of years. And between when you combine, David, how long have you been doing this?
Guiding here?
Yeah.
15 years.
Okay, 15, 10. Cody's been 15. About 5. Cody's been about 5 now. Mike's been here for around.
Cody's been here about what, 30 days?
Yeah, I think he's been here for 4 or 5 years. I think he's about 5 years now. So.
Oh, I thought it was only 30 days.
Yeah, I think he's been here a little while now. So it just time flies when you're having fun, Dave. So you got 5 years from Cody, 10 from me, 15 from Dave. I think Mike's like 12 or 13 or 14 years, somewhere in there. And Mike's been doing it in the business, in the industry for 20-something years. So you've got, a short lifetime of experience in these 4 guys putting all that info out there, man. It's got good effect on target, as we used to say back in the day in the old gun club I used to be in. Great effect on target. We love that. Coming down next year in March, first week of April. That's probably the best time to come for spawning fish. I kind of like May a little bit just for fishing, but for spawn fishing, last week of March, first week of April is as safe a bet as you can get year in, year out. Vance Miller's the one. He's coming down here soon from Ray Roberts. So he's just targeting the bigger girls, one bite type deal. What would we recommend to start with right now? Yeah, bigger swim baits is a good idea. If you're going shallow, bigger swim baits, frogs, buzz baits. That's kind of the big, to go up shallow, that's to target the big ones. That's what I would do. Offshore, scope with a glide bait, baby. Go get it. That's the deal.
Well,
scope with a glide bait. For
if you're there at that time of the year too, I mean, the guys who've mastered the Garmin with the 34 plus, I mean, I've seen videos and pictures of these guys that they're looking at these fish out in 6 to 8 foot of water that are on beds, and those are the giants.
No. The guy that's coming that I was just talking to, he's the one coming soon from Ray Roberts.
Yeah, but I just know if he had that equipment, you need to spend time looking in some of those places that are out right off the bank and not where you can see sight fishing, but use the technology as sight fishing.
Hey, we're not talking about sight fishing, Dave. Different guy. You with me?
I'm talking about that time of year.
Oh yeah, no, I hear you. So the guy that was asking about April, May, yes, that's very good advice. But Vance Miller was asking about targeting bigger fish, and he's coming in the next couple of weeks. I think he said earlier.
Oh, next couple of weeks. I see.
So I was saying for that, up shallow, the big swim bait, the frog, and the buzz bait, and then if you're offshore, glide bait, and glide bait. Yeah.
And you might be mildly shocked at how many good fish you can catch on a rattle trap. Some people throw them, not a lot of people throw them. You don't ever hear about many people throwing them anymore, but I'm gonna tell you what, a rattle trap will catch them in October and November.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, well, I throw it every year. I throw it every year then, and I throw it, in the January, February time frame too. I throw it a lot then. Cody Pebworth said he cashed a check without using the app or a guide, but the fish sure was stingy. He'll be getting a trip next go round. Well, we look forward to getting you out there and hope we can help you. But also, congratulations. Congratulations on the check, man. That's great.
It's always good when you cover up some of your expenses.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Well, I don't want to put there's a negative review for one of the lodging facilities out there. I don't want to put that out, but y'all can read the comments. If you're watching, you can read the comments, and I'll just let y'all read. Here's the deal. There are negatives in the fishing world. There's plenty of them. There's plenty of them, I assure you. There's plenty of bad guides out there. There's plenty of bad people that fish professionally. There's going to be bad facility experiences from time to time. I try, and I know I've gone in on some things over the years. For the most part, you haven't heard me bash anybody directly. Here's the deal. I don't want to speak negatively on any facility out there. I don't want to speak negatively on any person out there. What I will say is that if I tell you this is good, then in my opinion, this is good, whether it's a guide, a lodging facility, whatever else may have you. We'll just try to focus on the positive when it comes to that. Cody's story says the Sealy. Well, we don't know because the guy told the story. Sealy was one scoping. The guy, when they asked him what he caught it on, stumbled and said soft plastics, which means my bullshit meter, the flag, I'm raising the bullshit flag and saluting, because if you stumble and say, oh, it's all plastic, that means you're full of crap and you're not going to say what you caught it on. So who knows what it was caught on? Probably was caught scoping. I don't doubt that. Like that makes perfect sense. So, yeah.
And I told my guys too that more than likely that tournament would be one scoping. If you just dedicated your time and we had the right conditions for it, weather-wise, it was pretty easy to do it. So somebody that's a master at that and knows what he's doing, it's tried and true for sure.
Cody has his mom purchased an Airbnb cabin on Fork with private boat ramp. It sleeps 3. If you want information on that lodging, holler at Cody Mays. There you go. All right, here we go. Vance Miller's asking a good question. So he's the one that's coming from Ray Roberts, coming in the near future, Dave. Okay, he's wanting to know bigger spinner baits with paddle tail trailers or more of a smaller profile with something like a sparkle shed. Here's the thing, Vance. It depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, it depends on what you're looking for.
Either one of them can be effective. Here's the thing about the little baits whether it's the little spinnerbait or the little trap, little quarter-ounce trap, or the little 3.5-inch little dipper with the underspin, all those little baits will get you numbers of bites right now with the occasional random big fish that shows up. They're mixed in together, and those big fish are eating the little shad as well as the little fish eating the little shad.
Correct.
So you will catch a big fish on a little bait right now, but it's random. It doesn't always happen. It's random. There is enough in certain areas. There is enough big bait up shallow for you to upsize your shad replicating baits and get bites. There are fewer bites. There are obviously harder bites to get. There's fewer of them. But a big swim bait or a big profile spinner bait with a swim bait on it, a big buzz bait, a frog, all those things can get your big bites from the fish that are eating the bigger shad. Whopper Plopper was working for a day or two last week and then it quit on me, so it may work again. That's the deal for shallow fish is you can target specifically bigger fish. What you do want to see, if it's midday, the sun's up, you want to see the presence of the big bait every once in a while. You'll see the little shad all around your boat in the right areas. Like I will say that when you're in the right area right now, if it's calm and the sun's up, you will see little shad at the surface all around you if you're in the right areas. And then every once in a while, you'll see big shad swim by or a big shad go skipping across the surface. If you're seeing that, then you're in an area where you can target the bigger ones. So what I would recommend, Vance, is cover water with the little baits, the smaller profile baits that are imitating small bait fish. Cover water with that. When you get in an area where you see the presence of bigger shad, pick your big baits up.
Yeah.
Because even if you see a big, huge blow up, it might be on little shad, Vance. It might be on little shad. So until I see the presence of the bigger bait up shallow, I'll stick with the little baits because you can catch those big ones on the little baits. And then when I see the presence of the bigger bait, I will specifically target the bigger fish with the bigger bait when I see that shad presence is there from the bigger size. That's how I would approach it. That's my advice. Hopefully it works out. Or you could just go out off the bank and go live scope like people do nowadays. I think that I hate that, dude. Like I'm not
clear the water. I'll use a 5-inch bait with an underspin and a little bit clearer water and cover bank lines. But if the water's just a little bit dirty, use a bigger spinner bait with a paddle tail trailer on it and a sizable blade that's got vibration on a willow leaf, and you can run bank lines with that. And if you cover enough water, you are going to get a hold of a good one.
Yep, no doubt. Day 3 right here said I fished nothing but deep water from 10 to 25 feet, deep scoping, caught 8 slots, but most fish kept coming up to my bait in the middle of the water column and darting back to the bottom. Yeah, that's pressured fish on fork, man. They're going to do that. That's how they're going to act. You'll see, like Dave, we talk about it during bed fishing. I relate a lot of scoping things to bed fishing. There's some similarities that I think translate well. When you bed fish on fork, you know this, Dave, if that fish, like especially the ones that are easy to see, bro, you can't.
He's already been looked at 50
times. A lot of them you can't catch. It's no different for the scoping. Like there's a lot of fish on scope on fork that are just too pressured, too finicky. They're curious. They're apex predators. So they come check your bait out. They're never going to bite. The key to being a good scoper on fork, in my opinion, is being able to read that behavior cue and keep moving and only focus on the fish that are actually going to bite.
It's no different than a bedfish during March.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
They all have their own personality.
It's exactly the same. It's harder to read the behavior because you're on a screen, not seeing all the details with your own eyes, but it's the same principles. Now, 8 fish a day, pretty good. If you're catching 8 fish a day on scope, you're probably going to have good results. You caught 8 slot fish. Buddy, I don't know if you know, that's like a 20-something pound bag. That's a pretty good day. Now, does you no good in a tournament out here? I know because they're slots. But that's a good day catching 8 slot fish is if you look at when the Elite Series is here, that's what they do. Most of those guys that are in the top 10 are catching 8 slot fish a day.
I was going to say, and that's all they're catching too. Is 8, 7, 8. I did the math on it one year.
Yeah, that's right. They're not catching 20 fish a day. They're not. They're catching 8 fish a day, give or take, and they're catching some big ones, and they're targeting big ones, and they get an occasional over, but most of what they catch is slot fish. So I think those are really solid results. I think you're a good fisherman. You executed well to do that. So good job. Cody Stories, same thing. So we noticed a lot of that all weekend. Yeah, Lake Fork fish are hard to catch, and there ain't no doubt about it. They're really hard to catch. Yep. A lot of comments on there just co-signing on what that guy said. So Gold rattle trap works good in the fall. Yeah, that gold chrome rattle trap is it's unbelievable, man. It's when it's tough, when you're seeing feeding activity shallow, when you're seeing bait presence up shallow, and you cannot get a bite, pick up a gold chrome Bill Lewis Rat L trap, the old Rat L, the original.
Yeah.
That thing will. I can't tell you how many days I've gone from I cannot get any of these fish to bite, and I know they're here, and I know they're feeding. I can see them chasing shad. I see the bait presence. I see the bait being flushed, and I can't get a bite. That gold quarter-ounce Rat L has turned me from getting 0 bites to getting 20 bites a day.
I like the Yozuri gold with a black back, the 3/8.
I've never thrown the Yozuri, but the Bill Lewis has been my old standby. Yeah. I've got some, I call them gold chrome. There's about they're a quarter-ounce trap, and about a quarter of the paint's left on them. You know what I mean? They're really like grayish, whitish traps because I'm down to the primer down there, baby. Yeah.
I had a guy one time, this is quite a few years ago, and we were fishing an area late in the day, and we'd already went around this little spot, and we were down this grass, and we were throwing on this grass, and 2 boats pulled in within about 30 minutes of dark, and we're going down this line, me and my client, and I noticed the guy over there, he's fumbling around in his boat for quite a while. And I told the guy, I said, something's going on over there. He was about 100 yards from me. So I started working my way back towards him, and I got close, and he yells out in there, "Hey, have you got a scale?" And I went, "No, this can't be. We just fished that spot." And we pulled over there to him. I got in his boat, 12 1/4 his first cast. He caught a 12 1/4 on the area that we just went through. I
think that is a fantastic place to wrap this up on, because at the end of the day, when it comes to Lake Fork and the experience you have out there, that's what brings us all there. It's what made us all start fishing it and made us want to guide here, made us want to be part of this Lake Fork world. Any cast. Yeah. Brother, you don't know. Like you do, and I'm talking about from 0 feet to 35 feet on this lake. It's so full of life, so full of fish. Any cast, anytime. It is a feasible possibility that can happen.
For sure.
And you don't have to scope. You don't have to scope. You can. Scoping can work. You don't have to scope. You don't have to do the latest thing. You could go out there like it's 1985 and drag a black firetail 7-inch worm on a lead Texas rig, and you might catch a 12-pounder. It can happen.
I caught a rattle trap. I caught a rattle trap fish one time, 28 inches long. The bass was 28 inches, only weighed 9.5 pounds.
I've never gotten
old grandma fish, one eye out, that type of thing.
I've caught one like that out there. It wasn't 28, it was 27.5.
28. Yep.
So 27.
Can you imagine what that fish weighed in his prime?
Oh, ridiculous. Absurd. Yeah. So it's, I've caught that. I've caught one that was the longest fish I ever caught was like 27.5. I don't know. I'll say it's 27. I guessed 27.5 because my board measured 24 inches. There was another inch of board behind the last inch mark. So I had a 25-inch board, and I guessed the fish's tail was about 2.5 inches off. I don't know exactly. It was long, huge. And it only weighed like 7.5, 8 pounds itself. And then I'll tell you the biggest one I ever caught though, Dave. I hooked the fish one time on a guide trip. Unfortunately, I was fishing with my customers because they wanted me to. It was one of them deals. Like, tell me how many times this happens. You're not fishing because if we're catching them good, I'm not fishing. I'm not fishing. I fish when we're not catching them good because I'm trying to expand the pattern or give you guys confidence in the pattern. Something
different color, different bait, different something else.
Right. Yeah. So when we're catching them good, so I'm not fishing because I've got them pretty dialed this morning and we're catching them. And they're like, no, we want you to fish. You're going to fish with it. Okay, I'll fish. I hook this fish. Dave, when it comes up, the big ones do. They just barely stick their head out and kind of waller. They don't really get out of the water. When the fish came up, if I remember correctly, the exact quote was, "Oh my God, get the net. It's a bleep 15-pounder." I think that's what came out of my mouth. I'm pretty sure because I remember all of it. So we get the fish. All I see was the mouth and the head. We get the fish. I'm thinking it's like a 15-pounder. Like it's so big. We get the fish in a net, and it's like you're talking about. The fish had decent height to it. From back to belly, it had a decent width to it. But over the back, it's just this wide up and down.
It looked like a cigar.
Paper thin, bones in the head bulging out, eyes bulging out, all that, glazed over eye, all that good, just old dinosaur fish.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
we put this fish on the scale, Dave. It still weighed 10 pounds.
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about a bone thin fish weighed 10. Like I've never seen this fish, the frame on it, it's the only one I've ever seen where I went, that fish had the potential to be a state record.
Oh yeah.
Like,
That's what I said.
like in its prime, that fish could have been a state record. Because, I mean, you see these every once in a while. You'll see a 24-inch fish come in that weighs 5 or 6 pounds at these tournaments. It's like that. It's long, but it's just rail thin. Well, you take a fish that has a frame that when it's in that kind of shape weighs 10 pounds. How big was it when it was thick? It was almost twice that weight, which is now state record. So, yeah. All right. I do need to wrap it up. I've got a baby girl. I've got to get to bed. I can hear her hussing and fussing in a couple rooms over. So we're going to get out of here. David, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I know you've been wanting to get on with me. We haven't worked the schedule out yet, but we're going to start trying to do these things regularly. I think on Monday is going to be the schedule going forward. We'll have some other video coming out throughout the weeks when we can. You guys, thank y'all for watching. As always, congratulations to everybody that did good. And, hell, congratulations to those that just had a good time at the Sealy Big Bass Splash at Lake Fork this weekend. Another great year. Kudos, by the way, before we go, kudos and thank you to the Bob Sealy organization. I know Bob's passed away now, but his legacy lives on in a big, big way. And Bob was a great guy, so much fun. And I didn't go out to the event this year, and I can tell you this, if Bob was still alive, I would have. Bob was such a fun guy to talk to. He was one of those guys that when you're around him, you're going to smile. I don't care who you are. I don't care what's happening. I don't care what your mood is. If you get around Bob and talk to him, you're about to smile. It's going to happen. So love Bob Sealy dearly, and it's sad that he's gone. But great job to them, and thank you to them for continuing to come to Lake Fork and keep legacy up. Any parting words, Dave, before we go?
Nope. I just if clients are looking for numbers, I mean, I got places we can go for that. And if you're looking for a big fish, we always trolling around Lake Fork. So I lay out on a bunch of lakes around Lake Fork. So we got some data on all of them.
Yep. Absolutely, man. Same here. And we just call us and whatever you're wanting out of the trip. That's one thing we all do. When you text us, message us, call us, we're going to ask you, hey, what are you looking for out of this trip? And depending on what that is, we may suggest another lake or we may suggest Lake Fork. But whatever you want to do in the end, we're going to work our butts off to fulfill that desire. Man, thanks, Dave. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Sealy Outdoors. We'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.
See ya.
See you, Dave.